everyone has a beginning, and sometimes we get so caught up in people who are successful and overcomers, we just forget about the whole journey they went through to get there.
Ooh. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to the Major Pane Podcast, the only podcast crafted to guide men like you on unraveling your uniqueness to transform the world around you. If you are a lady joining us, feel comfortable to listen as we hope women learn how to build better men through the golden nuggets we will be sharing and learning. Joining me today is Paul Matten, talking about how he developed the mental toughness to build a successful family and his go-to principles in staying strong in life. Paul Matten has been married for 7 years, and he is the father of 6 children. He is very active in his church, Toronto City Church, where he acts as the head youth director. Paul's heart is to help men see how important it is for them to be active and present at home for the sake of the next generation. He also enjoys participating in speaking engagements with his wife, impacting the lives of high school students, enlightening them on sexual integrity, dating, and relationships. Welcome, Mr. Paul.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
Yeah. Paul, I remember the first time I met you, that was 3 years ago. And I walked up to you. I saw this handsome man, and next thing I saw was his amazing family. And I was like, wait a minute, like this guy has these beautiful kids. And then it was not only one Sunday, it's 2 Sundays. And then the third Sundays I woke up to you, I'm like, man, see, Paul, I want to be like you when I grow up.
I don't get that too often. That was so humbling for you to say that too as well. So I think I appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, honestly. I feel like you are this beacon of hope for a lot of young men, especially colored men like us. I mean, we really look up to each other, you understand? And it's really good to see that there's somebody out there who is modeling the right example. And I remember the other Sunday I met you, and that was just 2 weeks ago. And I said, hey, Paul, remember the statement I made? I want to be like you when I grow up. And I said, hey, meet my wife.
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny because I know my wife, she definitely remembered. She was impacted from meeting with you guys at the beginning as well. So she definitely remembered it. And she's like, yeah, I want to get to know that couple more. And so you guys made a good impression on my wife as well. So that's how I knew that you guys are good people.
Oh, that's we passed the test.
You passed the test.
Awesome. So nice, man. Honestly, I'm so grateful to God, and I'm also grateful for you for following the right part and just listening to God. And I feel like that's something that I would say a lot of men need these days. Just being able to humble themselves and listen to God, and also listen to themselves too. And which brings me to you. I see that you someone that exhibit a lot of mental toughness. And I want to ask, like, what does mental toughness mean to you, and how did you develop it?
Wow, that's a very good question. Well, I could say that mental toughness for me, I'll tell you how I developed it after, but for me, it's really just being able to overcome and just resist any fears, circumstances, and any doubts that you have when it comes to going after your goal that you have set for yourself, or just from succeeding. Anything that would prevent you from succeeding, if you're able to overcome that, for me, that's having a form of mental toughness. I would say the best way I overcame that, or actually exude that, was because I was a very competitive athlete growing up. So I was big into track and field, for one. So being an elite athlete, you have to have mental toughness, because even before, it doesn't matter how skillful you are and how talented you are, if you get to that starting line and your competitors already psyched you out, you're not winning the race. Right? So even with sports, it's as much or even maybe more important to have mental toughness when it comes to sports than even your God-given ability,
Mm.
because mind is powerful and it drives everything you do, who you are. And if you know aren't strong in that area, then it can really deter you from achieving the goal that you want to achieve, and that God has called you to make. And
Mhm.
so I really gained a lot of that, I would say, from my track days. I used to run track from when I was a small kid,
Mhm.
uh, end of university. And I was a NCAA athlete, All-American, all of that. And, just really believing in what I could do has helped me come a far way. And then that translated and transferred into my everyday life after I finished my career in track.
Oh wow. I hear you. You made mention that mind is very powerful. And I have like my last two episodes, one was mindset, the tug of war, and I was talking about the abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. And then the other one was based on protect the assets. That's your mindset. So I see you really touching a core point here where you say mind is very powerful. But when it comes to say some people who are not athletes, who maybe are not, maybe we're not privileged to have like the opportunity you had of being, say, into the sport thing from the onset. And right now they are faced with a lot of challenges and everything. How would you say that someone can develop mental toughness?
There are different ways you can do it. And I know even for myself, what I'm still doing right now is you got to pay attention to, for one, who you're listening to and what you're reading.
Mm,
Um, as you could really build up your mental toughness, or make it even worse by the words you hear, what people are speaking over you, and what those things help you decide and choose what you see in yourself, right? And so for myself, I have certain mentors and role models who, I would look at them and I saw how they overcame in certain areas of their life, and then I would encourage me, and then I would get advice from them. Or I would also read certain books of people who overcame, right?
mhm,
You want to make sure you surround yourself with overcomers. You want to make sure you surround yourself with people who are successful in there as well. Getting feedback, advice, pick people's brain. I'm the type of person who was like, getting someone who could help you build up your own mental toughness is one way, I would say, to do that. And then the other is just going through you got to go through those battles. Going through those battles, and then when you win some of those battles, that also helps build up your mental toughness, because now you have the ammo, I should say,
yeah.
of what you'll need, and you'll have the strength to overcome any other circumstances that come your way, or even if it's similar. There's this saying that what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, which
Yeah.
that's kind of is true. I mean, you go through hard times. You could think about like the single mother who goes through hard times, and she
Mhm.
she she gets stronger from overcoming and really providing for her family. And it's really there comes to a point where you just have to go through the fire,
Mm.
and then that helps build up your mental toughness. But I would say even before going through that fire, you want to make sure that you're preparing yourself, training yourself mentally by reading certain books, or just being around people who have that mental toughness already, that they could even give you the advice to build up your own.
Awesome. Wow. This is so amazing. No, Paul, honestly, I feel like we draw inspiration from same from same pool, honestly, because yeah, what you say strikes me very well, because it's something I personally have gotten to understand and realize that, say, the more I engage in specific books or movies or music, it changed my perception towards life, somewhat depletes me or recharges me, sort of, kind of. You also said something about surrounding yourself with overcomers. And I feel like that is something profound, but yet intimidating for a couple of people. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I could see why it could be intimidating, because sometimes from the outside we could look at people who have overcome, or you see the end result already, that they're successful, and
Mhm.
then you feel like, oh man, like what can they tell me? I don't even know where to start. But everyone has a beginning, and sometimes we get so caught up in people who are successful and overcomers, we just forget about the whole journey they went through to get there.
Ooh.
And then when you realize the journey that they got to get there is something, it could be very related to what you're going through, or even worse. Everyone has their own struggles and battles. I fully believe that it really depends on what you want, because anyone can be successful. It really, really does come down to the mindset of having that mental toughness to get there.
Awesome. Yeah. And I would double back to one, maybe by the end of this interview, about some books, because you made mention of reading certain types of books. And I know that it's not just any book that anyone should read, because people are in different position in their journey, and they kind of need different maybe tools for those positions they are in, right? So I'll get back at the end of the interview to maybe some list of books that you feel like people could read to help their mental toughness. In the meantime, let's proceed forward. So you as a man, especially as a colored man, what would you say, how would you say mental toughness has helped you through your journey?
Yeah, no, that's good. I would say it's helped me because, especially as a colored man, I travel, I've been to places, I've been to, I went to school in the US, got a scholarship. So even growing up here in Toronto as a Canadian, it's different when it comes to, race. When somewhere in the US where I grew up in Toronto, we're very diverse and multicultural. So when it comes to, racism, it may not feel as strong in that sense, but then when you go over to small towns where I was growing up in the US, it's environment. But I'll say what helped me was I have a strong belief in God, and my faith has really helped me up that mental toughness as a man. So not only as a Black man, but as a man, seeing myself as a child of God first and foremost. And when I see myself in that way, then I know that I can do anything. I can do all things through Him because I'm His child. So coming from that perspective, that has helped me see myself as that type of man first, because compared to, I'm just a Black man growing up here. And then sometimes when you look at yourself as just I'm just a Black man doing this, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you can tend to relate and think first of all the negative things that could attach itself to. And I'm starting with the short end of the stick first in life because I'm a Black man. I may not be able to get this job compared to my white friends or whatever. But so when you're already thinking of things in that kind of way, you're already sabotaging yourself, because your mind is thinking, okay, well, I'm already at that short end. But if I'm coming for, hey, I'm a child of God, anything He created, I can get it as long as I'm sticking with Him. I'm already with that mindset that, hey, you know what? I don't have a disadvantage. And when you come with that mindset, you try new things, you step out more, and then you step out more, you realize, man, I was actually good. I did that. I was successful at that. So that's helped me as a man, because I know as men, especially in the society, we really need to have our act together, especially Black men, because of just societal perceptions and all of that stuff. We want to make sure that we have a good head on our shoulders, but we also want to make sure that our mind is strong, because there are external circumstances that are coming against us. But if we have a strong mind, I fully believe, and I've seen it myself, they won't affect you negatively, and they won't prevent you from being successful in life with that regard. I'll say that's one way I've actually just seen myself as, a man who loves God first, a man of God first, and that's helped me really be successful with where I am right now.
Wow. This is profound, man. So profound, because yes, what you're saying makes a lot of sense about how we see ourselves. That it's more like people tend to carry us based on how we see ourselves. So it's more like if you carry yourself with the sense of dignity and respect for yourself, knowing that you're an asset, right? Others will carry you same way, regardless of your race, color, creed, whatever. We don't care if we see a gold right now on maybe in people's drawers or something, like you see a gold. I mean, you wouldn't really care where the gold is from, whether it's from Kuwait, it's from Egypt, it's from Antarctica. All you care about is like, how many carats is this? You're right. I really like how you put it, especially when we see ourselves as children of God. It gives us this sense of we are one, right? I need you, you need me, kind of thing. And we see how we can help each other. So I really like that. How we see ourselves is going to determine how other people will carry us also. You have 6 beautiful kids, right? And the last child, how old is he right now?
He's 8 months. Judah is his name.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. And trust me, I know in this day and age, in this century, I feel like you should be in the Guinness Book of Records. Trust me.
Oh man, hey, the families have a lot more than me, and sometimes I wonder, man, how you doing that? But yeah, no.
Yeah, honestly, and I want to know, like, what theory did you and your wife develop to manage a big family?
Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, again, going back to my faith, we see our kids as arrows. There's a verse in the Bible where it says, blessed is the man who has, I'm paraphrasing here, but like
Mhm.
children are a blessing to the Lord, and a man who's filled his quiver with them is right. And I see our kids as people who are influencers, who will eventually be influencers in this world, right? And God created them with a purpose. And so how my wife and see is like my wife and I see us as ambassadors, of course, of God, and a way of like, God gave us these kids, trusting us with these kids to help raise them to be, great human beings who will have influence in the world positively.
Yeah.
So how we raise our kids is very important to us. Want to make sure that they, are well respected, that they know how to respect as well others. And because we have that determination and that goal, that objective to do that, it really helps parenting them become more fun, of course, but we have more of a drive to raise them well. And and the thing is with the kids is we realize that the more present we are with our kids, the more love that they experience and the more love that they feel, right? And we want to make sure that they are secure in who they are and their identity. And some people don't really know this, but this is almost like a cheat code. But
Yeah.
we always ask us, how do you do it with 6 kids? I only have 1 and I'm struggling. But people don't know that when we have so many kids, they actually help raise themselves sometimes. Like they
Wow.
each other. And then they learn to share, you know what I mean? So not to be greedy because they have so many they know the meaning of all of that, and they help each other out, and they have more of a bond with each other, right? So it's a friendship. So
Wow.
we want them to be close with each other where if someone's struggling, they can help the other person out, right?
Wow.
So it honestly gets easier for us the more kids we have.
Wow. Wow. I think I should take this.
Some people don't realize that because they're too afraid to get to that number, right?
Yeah.
I want to show, am I going to get 2 kids or 3 kids or 4? But God makes them with so many different personalities, and he actually makes it in a way that it just ends up working, and
wow.
if you really trust him to provide for your family, to really take care of your family, it's amazing what you see in your kids. And then, it really is a blessing. We see them as a blessing because of that.
Wow, this is real mind blowing. Like you just opened my eyes to something. I feel like, yeah, a lot of parents might not have been seeing or thinking, especially when you talk about the partnership. I hear this word of partnership all around. That it's not just between you and your wife, but also getting the kids involved in that partnership, like delegating certain things to them. And that gives them that sense of responsibility. And also they start developing those competencies at an early age, right? And which makes them even better servants, not only in the family, but to the community, because they now know how to take care of themselves, watch out for their fellow siblings, respect their parents, and then it trickles back into the community, right? Yeah, I feel like my wife is definitely going to watch this podcast, and I'll be like, so honey, how many are we looking at right now?
Yeah, it's true, man. It's we had a number. I coming into the marriage, I didn't think I'd have 6 kids in total. But I think my wife would say, like, once you get to 4, it really doesn't matter the number almost after that, because it's just by then, especially if you have a little bit of space in between where there's some who are older, they definitely each other out, help you out.
I see. I like that, which also made me, I wanted accent in regards to say some type of, because again, why I said you deserve a Guinness Book of Record right now is because at the atmosphere we are in the world, like globally right now, right? I mean, the school system, when it comes to jobs and all those things, okay, how does one really get to balance work, career, family? I mean, there are so many examples out there of parents like kind of chasing career and leaving kids to sort out themselves. And at the end of the day, we know what that looks like, right? We've also seen parents chase kids and leave career. And we've also seen those. So how have you guys over the years been able to like balance those things out in a way that you are able to raise a family with this kind of economy? Yeah, how?
I mean, God has opened up some doors for us because our schedule, my wife and I, our schedules have always been changing. She's actually has her own shop. She's her own, like a tattoo artist as well, along with helping me co-lead the youth at Toronto City Church.
Mm-hmm.
So she, has been changing up her schedules, and due to COVID, it kind of paused and shifted things around a bit, and it actually ended up working to our favor just recently too, because now I am able to. She was part-time first for a bit, and then I was full-time, and then now just recently I dropped down to part-time and she went full-time.
Oh,
So
I see.
and it's helped because we realized too why it's beneficial is how when we were both working a lot, there was a point in the season where the kids weren't seeing us as much for too often. And we saw the negative effects that started to show up a bit because they wanted quality time with us, and whether they be acting up a little more. Kids show it differently. So now that I'm home more often and have, as long as there's one parent at least in the home, it really changes the atmosphere and the environment of the house. Kids feel more secure. Come home, they want to feel secure when they come out from. They're outside in the public world where the world is like mean, all of that stuff going on. You want to make sure they come into a house where they feel comfortable and at peace. So they felt more secure. Now that I'm home more, I'm making sure to spend time with the young ones, the little kids, and then picking them up from school. And then help them drop them off. And then the older girls as well, one who's in high school, one who's end of elementary school. It's just them knowing that there's someone who's present. Right? And then so how we balance it, my wife and I, we're gonna start doing this more often, but we actually came up with a decision to start, taking some of our kids out on dates. Some of the
amazing ways.
Older girls especially, she would take them out on dates, and maybe another week I still have to start doing this more, but start taking them out as well, so they get like both of us. And then the young ones, we haven't done that yet with because it's all about fun. 6 years old is the next oldest one after the 12-year-old. But that's the plan. We want to make sure we spend quality time. So I'm always play fighting with my boys, my kids, just like so they see me more, and the attitudes have changed. You see there's a positive shift around that. So we make sure it doesn't have to be like so much time in there, but as long as you're asking like, oh, how was your day? What's going on in your life? And then they see that you're proactively making an effort. And one of the things that always goes past our eyes, adults, that we sometimes forget about is our phone. Like when we have kids trying to talk to us, and you may not think it, but they can tell distracted. And if you're like looking at your screen and they're trying to talk to you, and you're like, yeah, okay, it's turning away, but looking back at your screen again, to them, even subconsciously, is giving them a signal, a message that what I'm saying to you right now is not that important to you.
Wow, right? I see.
Compared to what you're looking at on the phone. So I had a hard time working around this. My wife called me out because I can get pretty busy on my phone. So I try to make an effort now. Whenever my kid wants to talk to me, I put my phone down, or I shut it off for a certain time when I come home, just to make sure that I have my full attention, because that is another way that they feel like they're heard, that you are paying attention to them, and that you are present. You are present in their life. So I would say that's another pointer there, is what we do. We make sure that we're not on our phones or on the screen when they're trying to, interact with us.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Oh my God. I feel like this is, I know this should be a seminar on its own. Wow. This is amazing. Honestly, like I'm just while you talking, I'm just having this imagery, right? As she's saying it. And I can really see how these things you make it mention, how critical they are like in a child's life. Me just flashing back into when I was little, and I can see the time that because okay, I lost my dad when I was 7. So I grew up with a single mom. And of course, she was very busy, but I can remember very well how much she spent time, those quality time with us. And I can also see some other people who maybe were not privileged to have those things. And I see how it has negative impact in their life. And right now, a lot of them are sensing for this parental kind of need, but this time from their spouse, and that now changed the whole dynamics because of course your spouse is not your father, it's not your mother, right? Your spouse is not your parent. So and what I can see, especially when I read your bio, you said something about how we can be present today for the next generation. So what you're doing is being intentional for this generation so that they can be extremely healthy they can have the right mindset, the right heart set, soul set, and everything in order for them to lead that change. And just like what you said, be influencers for great things in the next generation. Yes. So I see that just like how they say true change starts with us, right? So you are taking the initiative to use your family as that catalyst of change. And I really commend you for that. When I told my wife I was having you in, and she was like, I said, honey, what question would you want me to ask Paul? And she said, so this question is from my wife, right? She said, how do you distribute love equally among your family?
That's good. Number one, well, yeah, that's good. I would say number one is finding out the love languages of your family members. Family member has different love languages. Some are quality time, some are gifts, some are physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service. Those are all the love types of love languages. So once you find out what those type of love languages are for you, and you can find them out easily, they usually let you know. Once you know, I would say you really want to make sure you're intentionally finding time to really encourage and help build up and showcase that type of love to your family members. For my wife, quality time, and she'd now say acts of service is another one for her. But
did she just add that recently?
Cleaning the house, the dishes, all that stuff, right? After all the wife women are like, yeah, acts of service. But hear that. So yeah, just doing things like that. But quality time is definitely both of our love languages. Just sitting down at the end of the day, talking. So for us, after the kids go to bed, it's so important for us to spend time together. And spending time is talking about our day and just, whatever. It could be like watching something together. And then for our kids, I was saying before, setting dates and planning how to, we take our older girls out on dates for one, we try to, and then younger kids, like I'm just in there with them. Like it's funny because my son is he's so much into gaming right now. So he showed me stuff that I really don't care about. I really don't care about it. And I know like sometimes I could be so busy doing something like, oh, Dad, look at this. And then it'd be something that is not even funny to me, but he'd be like, so like,
yeah.
You guys would be like, yeah, oh my, yeah, good. That is amazing, crazy, right? And so like just kind of like affirming them on what they're showing because they're putting their self out there. And one thing I have to remember, because as much as you don't feel like it, one thing I remember is that the other world has no problem being mean and truthful to them. They will do that.
Wow.
Your job is to encourage them and love them, right? So so that is and that's more than the feelings you feel in those moments sometimes. But how we distribute it really is that we just make sure that we're checking on each kid all the time. How's it? If we see one kid isn't doing well or feeling well, we try to help them out in that area. And then but we don't take away our time from the other kids. And it really works out because sometimes you could do it together as maybe a couple kids at the same time, or it doesn't have to be one individual each time.
Mhm.
But I would say that is one way that we intentionally try to show love to our each one of our family members, is to find out what their love languages are, do the best we can with
Mhm.
encouraging them in that area of their love language, and then also just making sure that we put the time in. uh could be even, it doesn't have to be long, could be
Mhm.
some minutes in the day,
Yeah.
as long as they see you and as long as they feel heard, that will take them a long way, right? As long as they feel heard, because they might not be feeling heard when they're in school or when they're at work.
Wow. Wow. Now, this thing you said, but Paul, trust me, I mean, you are a pool of wisdom, honestly.
I mean, I'm talking. Yeah, I had to go through this stuff to gain a little bit of wisdom I have now. So,
And honestly, Paul, you need to write that book, trust me. You know,
um,
there was something you said that just it struck a lot of chord, and you said something about the world has no problem accepting our kids, meaning like if we don't hear them out or if we don't make our time for them, the world is always open and ready to receive them. And
mhm.
now, of course, we know what that does at the end of the day. So it's more like we as parents should do the needful first so that
Yes.
when they go into the world, they are not being starved of love. They know that they are being heard. So therefore, when the word is like, hey, come, I'm going to hear you. I'm going to hear all your concerns. I have the answer. They are like, oh, no, like
Yeah.
I already got the answer I'm looking for from my family, from my father, my parents and all. So I like that. That's a very good way of positioning these things. And I didn't even know love languages also apply to kids. I thought it's only adults, but
Yeah. No, they definitely do. They definitely do. You realize that it starts when we're kids. Actually,
yeah,
shows up even more when we're adults. Yeah.
wow. Wow, this is great. You've said a lot of principles, like key principles that is just so much and so vibrating. Like my bones are really shaking hearing you say all these things. Trust me. And now I also want to ask, like, say, before you became, this man who is so Abrahamic right now. That's what you're the 21st century Abraham. Yeah.
I was
Uh,
the
so before you became this type of man, because I know you said you're a pro athlete, like you had a lot of challenges, issues, struggles, and everything. What were the fundamental principles that you had to live by as a man that enabled you to, become who you are right now?
I'll say this. I mean, being in a relationship with God is number one. God's been my foundation. My character and how I see the world comes from a biblical perspective, and that has worked so much for me in my life, overcoming struggles, obstacles, realizing that there's a power, someone who's greater than myself, right?
Yeah.
If we only trust ourselves can fail us, right? And we don't have all the answers. So you want to go after a source who has all the answers and make sure
Hmm.
that's what
Hmm.
it is. And for me, it's Jesus Christ. He's my source. And so I would say, building a foundation in that way. But I'll just give you a little story, but I mean, I had to overcome. I was a couple of years ago. I went through a bout of depression. So
Hmm.
I wasn't perfect in this. There's a point where I felt a little bit overwhelmed with the role as a father, and kind of knocking myself, feeling like, am I even doing enough, for my kids?
Hmm.
Uh, I, if my kids don't turn the way that I want them to, or will that be me to blame? And I put a lot of pressure on myself. And I remember right before, basically a few months before COVID hit, I was a bit of about of depression for a bit, for about 3 months, I would say. I knew everything. I knew,
Wow.
how to overcome that. It was all in your head. But when you go through depression, that feeling is like a cloud, right? You just comes
Yeah.
on you, fight it. So I'm sure people who have gone through depression before can relate to that. How I overcame that was having to deal with things in my past I had buried, I had never dealt with. I would say, for one, if there's anything that you're bearing right now that you refuse to bring to the surface and conquer that, you need to do it, because eventually it will catch up with you, and it'll come back and get you the time period, unsuspectingly.
Mm,
And so I remember going through that. How I overcame that, though, was really going through stuff that I realized I buried from when I was a kid, and just like could
mm,
be like parental things, or just with friends, or people who had influence, who maybe said negative things to me in the past. I really,
yeah, yeah.
buried inside deep. And so God brought all those things out for me. And I remember once those things came out, I felt much lighter, and I was actually able to move forward instead of being, stuck in the same situation I was in and not going any further.
Mm-hmm.
But it was because of the words. I remember I said earlier, make sure you're listening to, encouraging words, overcomers.
Yeah.
But it was like now choosing to focus on positive words of positive characteristics, and
Mm-hmm.
even roles and words where I want to see myself
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Focusing on those things helped me come out of that depression, and really just go in the direction I want to go. And so I would say that, some of the skills that helped build me up there were one of the books. John Bevere has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of books that I can read for him. He talks about, drawing near, and Driven by Eternity, another big book by him as well. So just really talking about whatever you're driven by is you'll go in certain directions, but even if you're going through rough roads, you're driven by eternity. You're driven by something that's greater than yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to summarize, that's what I've been living my life by. So even though I've
Mm-hmm.
obstacles, I'm driven because I'm seeing the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a goal, if you're seeing a bigger picture, say, I want to build legacy in my kids. I want them to be successful in life. I want them to touch other people who are struggling, other youth
Yeah.
who may be coming from a broken family, who
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
don't have any good role models. I want to see them overcome. I want to see it. So I'm driven by all of that. So
Yeah.
because I'm driven by all of that, I know I need to make sure that I'm good
Yeah.
myself, right? And then that now pushes me forward to do the things I need to do to make sure that I'm good first, so that I can also bless and help other people as
Awesome.
well, so that they're good, right?
Yeah.
I would say that's the main thing for me, is that, being driven, seeing the bigger picture, seeing the destination where you want to go. And for me, it's driven by eternity, basically. I want to see people walking the fulfillment of their calling that God has put over their lives. I want them to, just really know God as well. And
Mm-hmm.
because if I think if they really have the relationship in knowing God, knowing Jesus as their Lord and Savior, doesn't matter what they go through, they
Mm-hmm.
have courage, and they'll be overcomers automatically.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. 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 Oof. Hey man, I feel like we should take some offering right now because you you know that's one joke I usually say every time I'm having this kind of very impactful kind of conversation, right? I'm like, okay, you know what? It's like we have a service right now, offer time. So no, this is so good. I mean, I really love when you say being driven by eternity and driven by that bigger picture. And I came across this in Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And
Yeah.
yeah, also even as a life purpose coach, I would say I 1000% everything you said is spot on, because without purpose, like purpose, I used to say is that earthly job description. And
Mhm.
since if we are to know the roles we play, not only in people's life, but in our own lives, it really
Yeah.
helps shape how we look at things. And
Mhm.
speaking about it, also even help us navigate through depression and all those things, because it's more like you see the eye of the storm and you go through the storm to get to
Yeah.
the other side. Greg Laurie, exactly. So Greg Laurie, he said, what are you doing at the backstage of your life?
Yeah.
Like that is where the real strength is being built. It's not really in the foreground, it's not on the podium, it's at the backstage. What are we doing at the backstage of our life? And
Yeah.
what you said makes so much sense, because we all get to this crossroad or this point whereby we feel so down. And it's not a matter of what are we telling ourselves at that point. Are we healing our trauma, or are we letting our trauma overpower us or overcome us? So it all still comes with that grit and push for, I want to do better. I want to be better. Why? Because this is the bigger picture for my life. And that really affects how we impact every other area of our life. Wow. This is profound. Wow. I feel like we can talk the whole day. And honestly, trust me, I said, this is not the last time I'll be bringing you to this podcast. I mean, you will be, I really want you to come around so that, you can help shape the audience, right? On unique masculinity, what it is like, what it feels like, because I said earlier that there are not so many men like us, and there are a lot of men with potentials, but they just need to hear the right word, just like what we've been saying, right? They need to see the right people model these things, and people who are true and staying on it, right? And that way they get to realize that it's possible, it's doable, it's achievable, and that way we have a lot of men who are coming forward boldly to say, okay, I want to live this true part because this is what I am meant to be and how I'm meant to live. Before we go, I just want to say, I really want to appreciate you for coming on. I also want to ask, because I know you kind of coordinate the Toronto City Church Sport auditorium or something like that. Can you speak more about that and how people can maybe partake in that? I saw your IG handle and everything.
Yeah, well, I actually so I manage the Toronto City Sports Center. It's actually owned by the Toronto City Church. So we're on the same property. I actually recently just stepped down for full manager there, but the person over from me, his name is Jair. He's actually one of the pastors at the church.
Okay.
Jair Guerrero. And if they want more information when it comes, because right now we have the dome open for bookings for the community and for certain teams. It could be, right now we have a fitness club in there, Resilience Fit. And then also we have soccer clubs for kids in there. We have baseball. We have a golf driving range during the day. Seniors and whoever is available at that time, they want to do it. Pretty good rate. But we're really trying to just get people on the property and really just, and it's a good indoor dome. So, any information, just, just type in Google or Toronto City Sports Center, or you can go to the Toronto City Sports Center .ca webpage as well.
Awesome.
So,
okay. Also, what about your wife's tattoo shop? What's the name and how can people get to connect?
Victorious .inc is her Instagram name, and so you can see some of her work, and she would just recommend shooting her a message and a DM and interested, but she has some great work. So and her shop's in Scarborough, I think off Bellamy and Ellesmere, I believe it is. So
amazing. All right. Okay. I would get the links and I'll put them in the description for the podcast, and everyone who's watching this, regardless of the platform, they would have access to these links. And you guys should check it out. I really appreciate you, Paul. I mean, God bless you for the great work you're doing, and thank you for coming into this podcast. We really appreciate you, and I look forward to connecting with you again, and I look forward to also coming for some secret advice.
Hey, I'm always available. I make myself available as much as possible. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me today. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right. Cheers.
All right.